What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the YouTube page. I am Director Z, aka Luis Zapatero, and we are back, and we're going to talk about Thunderbolts, the movie that just came out recently that everyone's saying that is like, it's the best since Infinity War, which apparently that's like everyone's favorite response for some reason. But, this is going to be spoilers, so please, if you have not seen the movie, go watch the movie. Pretty sure it's leaked somewhere. I saw clips going all over Twitter. Like the day after I saw it, I was like, wow, these people do not wait for shit. So if you're worried about getting it spoiled, go watch it immediately because it's circulating. I'm telling you. The post credit scene is also circulating, so be careful. All right, let's just get into it. So, as we know from like previous projects like Falcon and Winter Soldier and the last Black Widow movie, Valentina Allegra Dufontaine, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who just seems like Selena Meyer, made this whole movie kind of feel like a side episode of Veep if they were to experiment with super soldiers and assassins and former mercenaries. So our Thunderbolt lineup is Yelena, the new Black Widow, Bucky, the Winter Soldier, U.S. Agent John Walker, who was Captain America for 5 seconds, and as you can see on the box, that's Bob. And then right next to Yelena in the Casey Jones looking mask is Taskmaster. Don't look forward to hearing about him or her later. And then we have Ghost, and we have Alexei, a Red Guardian, and a girl who can walk through walls for literally a minute. So I really liked what they were doing at the beginning. Like Yelena and all these people are just doing like generic jobs for Valentina to kind of sweep shit under the rug, and just know that whatever happens in the movie, it's Valentina's fucking fault. But of course, she's a politician and she's gonna try and spin this shit like everything's fine. And she does make a good point though. The Avengers are not gonna walk through that door and save anybody. And Bucky's a congressman for some reason. Yelena does a job at the beginning and blows up a building to cover up some tracks. Alexei's sitting on his ass watching old videos of himself being praised in Russia. Just pretty funny and, consistent with the character. Yelena's feeling the mental health of being a killer and, she just wants a break. But Alexei wants to do what she does. And it's pretty crazy. But the more and more you see, and the more you're like, Yelena's getting more involved, and Valentina wants her to stop something in some big research laboratory. And then, of course, we see some of the other characters. Taskmaster, Ghost, and U.S. Agent go at it in a four-way battle where each of them are actually supposed to be killing the other person. Ghost does really well with the phase shifting stuff. Yelena is taking on U.S. Agent, even though Taskmaster's there to kill him. But, of course, I didn't even like this Taskmaster when Black Widow came out, so I was really glad with what happened. Fucking Ghost just appears and boom, right to the dome. Like it wasn't even like 15 or 20 minutes into the movie, and Taskmaster's. So I was like, why is it all over the posters? Because you're not supposed to know that he's dead, but everybody kind of already knows. I didn't like this Taskmaster, and no, I know a lot of you are gonna be like, "Oh, you don't like a female Taskmaster? You're part of the problem." No, it's the same fucking female Ghostbusters bullshit. Nobody asked for a female Ghostbusters reboot, and no one's going to do like a female team and reboot it with men. Nobody wants a Rowdy Rough Boys movie before a fucking Powerpuff Girls movie. And nobody wants a male-oriented Charlie's Angels instead of the regular Charlie's Angels. Just like nobody wants to do a female reboot of Predator or fucking The Running Man or a bunch of other like male-oriented testosterone movies. Nobody wants it. And nobody wanted Taskmaster to be a woman. They just wanted a comic accurate Taskmaster. And even when you tried to do it in the Black Widow movie, it sucks. And he looks like a BMX biker with a hood on. It doesn't look anything or remind me of Taskmaster. So I'm glad it was like a plate of food where you're like, can you send this back? This sucks. So I'm glad, just done. And the dynamic that it adds when Bob comes into the picture, U.S. Agent, Ghost, and Black Widow are trying to get out of the room because they realize, Valentina's trying to kill them all because that's the only way she can truly, you know, cover her tracks and sweep it under the rug. Get rid of all the mercenaries and assassins that I hired to do shit around the world. U.S. Agent seems to think he's some kind of black operations Captain America, but it's just like what Ghost told him. He's like, oh, really? From the dollar store Captain America? Like, they just keep fucking roasting his ass. Like, he's like, you're not Captain America, and you never will be. Okay? And the fact that nobody calls him U.S. Agent is just Valentina, just that one time at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier. His name's just Walker. So they're trying to escape. They have no idea why Bob is there or what the fuck he does. And they do like this whole shoulder like back to climb up a wall like an Emperor's New Groove with Pacha and Cusco coming up like the thing. But it's four of them. Then they see a doorway it's kind of impossible for them to get up there unless one person does and grabs them up. But that's going to be really hard because then the rest of the three people are going to fall down this really narrow corridor that I can't describe. Column. They're in a column. I think that's the word. So they escape. Bob grabs a gun and they're taking on security. Yada yada yada. They're sneaking out in the uniform of Valentina's hit squad or these shield looking guys. I don't even think it's shield. It might be Hammer or some shit. Just the government. So when they escape, they also realize that Bob is gone from the group, and that also Ghost went to go through some walls and try to open a door for them, and she ends up disappearing. She does this like twice, I think. And so Yelena and Walker and Ghost are in a truck trying to escape. They see that Bob is gone. Bob is shooting up in the sky, making a distraction, and then boop, 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 a line of soldiers just shoot his ass. But he's the sentry. And like comic knowledge guys already knew that. And as soon as he was sprayed and on the floor, he just comes back up and he rockets into the fucking air, and you're just like, oh fuck. And then of course he's like, ugh, and then he just falls right back down. They're like, okay, we need to get Bob back down. And then Valentina's assistant Mel is like, ma'am, he's already coming back down, but he's also unconscious. And he hits a mountain, and it's like some Man of Steel shit. Just boom, just a big ass crater explosion. So Bob is a huge development and threat in the Marvel universe. Now Yelena, Ghost, and Walker are traveling together, wondering what the fuck they're gonna do. Valentina wants him dead, and now there's this Bob who can fly into the air and do all this impossible shit. They realize whatever's going on with Bob, it's Valentina's fault. That's why she wants them all dead, so that they can't prove it. But Valentina's also surprised to see this guy. She's like, who the fuck is that? Bob is one of the experimenters that Ox did for the Century Project, and he was the only one who survived. So what does that tell you? And then, of course, Yelena, Ghost, and Walker are in the middle of a desert. They don't have a ride. And who comes except Yelena's dad, Alexei, in his Red Guardian limo, which is actually pretty fun. I love that Alexei was such good comic relief in the movie. And he's all talking to Walker and Ghost and saying, Yelena, you have some impressive friends. He's like, no, 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 we're not friends. We're not even a team. Like saying, like, okay, the whole movie is trying to push these people together, saying they're going to do some good, even though they're former bad guys. And the dynamic that they have the whole movie is just so funny because they're like squabbling siblings. And of course, Bucky is trying to, walk the line of being a congressman, but then they're in trouble. Alexi's getting shot up by a bunch of army tank Humvees, and he's just the windows are bulletproof, and then boom, bullets come in. Walker's holding a shield, going, "I thought you said it was bulletproof." He's like, "Bulletproof-ish." And then even Alexi grabs a vodka bottle, throws it like a Molotov cocktail, does nothing to the military Humvee. And then, of course, Bucky's coming in, fucking Terminator 2 on a motorcycle with that same bomb fucking landmine thing that attaches to cars and then poof, blows them up. Very Winter Soldier-esque. And Walker sees him and he's like, yeah! But it turns out he's also after them too. And he blows them up, flips the limo. I was like, oh, Bucky, what the hell, man? And then, of course, he arrests them, Yelena, Red Guardian, and Ghost, and Walker. And he asks what the hell's going on, and they're talking about Bob and how Valentina is responsible for it. And she's trying to make some kind of secret weapon. And of course, he's like, yeah, right, whatever. That doesn't sound. And then freaking Mel, the assistant that he talked to at the beginning of the movie that works for Valentina, calls him. He's like, Valentina has gone off the rails. She's crazy. She made this weird super soldier project of a guy who flies and is invulnerable, and his name's Bob. And he's listening on the phone while looking at the guys he's arrested, like, oh, so they're now bullshitting? And so Bucky kind of gets them all together and says, all right, we got to do something. We got to bring Valentina to justice. Everyone's like reluctant, like, all right, fine. And Alexi's the only one who's like, yeah! He's been waiting for this for a long time. And I love that Bucky's like driving the truck and Alexi's like, so what is grand plan? He's like, grand plan? And fucking Bucky goes right into the building where Valentina and her security is, just bashes through with a fucking truck door as a shield. And Alexi's coming out the other end going, I like this plan. Alexi was just so fucking funny in this movie. And it's funny that they bring up the Thunderbolts name or whatever, because it actually ends up being a Pee-wee soccer team that Yelena was in. And they just keep bringing it up. No one messes with the West, minister chest. I forget what it's called. Thunderbolts. And of course, Valentine is just waiting for them upstairs. And she thinks she's all cool with her drink, and she's all telling them like they're gonna die or that she's unimpeachable, and that righteousness without power is just an opinion. And I was like, damn, that's pretty clever, pretty smart. And then of course Bob comes down in full beautiful Sentry costume. His hair is blonde now, even though right here in the poster you see that it's brown. But later they do dye his hair blonde to match the Golden Guardian. The S was perfect too. I was like, wow, he really looks like Dark Avengers, Deodato, and Warren Ellis fucking Sentry. It's amazing. And then of course Valentina saying, you can't beat this, and freaking Sentry's like, you guys should just give up. I really don't want to hurt you. And of course the Thunderbolts are like, no, fuck that, we fighting. And the Sentry is throwing them around like rag dolls. It's kind of like Superman taking on the Justice League in the movie. Even though that didn't happen in the Zack Snyder cut, it still kind of feels like it's impossible for these former mercenaries and super soldiers to take down a dude who is literally a telekinetic Superman with the power of 1,000 exploding suns. And so, they get wasted. Bucky has a moment where he takes off his jacket and starts straight up boxing the Sentry. And of course, he gets his arm grabbed again. And Sentry's actually melting it with his eyes. And Bucky's like, oh, not again. People just keep grabbing his arm and saying, like, was that a punch? Like the Dora Milaje fucking ripping his arm off. And you're just like, Bucky, dude, just stop with the arm. It's not cool anymore. And so they're running out into the elevators, realizing they can't beat him. And Valentina's literally telling Sentry, finish him. And Sentry's like, nah, you know what? I don't really feel like it. And Sentry kind of realizes he's too strong to be taking orders from this bitch and starts choking her out. And then Mel has the kill switch device that's supposed to shut him down. But does it shut him down? Not completely. And of course, Sentry comes back as the Void, and he's like all black, and he can like wave his arm, and people turn into these smashed up Hiroshima bomb victims of like the shadows just turning into black. You're just like, oh fuck, and it gets so good. Like after that, like they go into the void, and they have to address the trauma and the manic depression that's inside of Bob and the void. They're both the same, but they also have to address the fact that one of them is not good for the greater Earth, and Bob just wants some sense of control. So it was really well done what they were trying to do with the whole talk of mental health and the teamwork and the team building. It was really well done. So overall, I would give the movie a solid 8.5 out of 10. And for those of you who don't know, the asterisk, it's there because, well, I already gave you a spoiler warning, but it's because Valentine is working them up to be the new Avengers. Yeah, these fucking guys, minus the Casey Jones Taskmaster look motherfucker. Oh, they also have Bob. So it's different because they're like, oh, we get a fucking team of mercenaries and super soldiers? Like, but they have Sentry. And you're like, oh, well, that's different. He was actually a new Avenger for a while. With like Wolverine and the Thing and Iron Man and Cap. So the team kind of works. Also kind of doesn't because they didn't know that they were set up to be the new Avengers. And now Sam, the new Captain America, is taking a problem with that, trying to copyright the name. And these guys are just sitting in their new drip going like, so if we can't be the Avengers, then what the hell are we going to be? And of course, for those of you who know, a ship is coming out from a dimensional portal, and under the ship you see Big Blue 4, which is setting up the events of Doomsday, and we shall be seeing the Fantastic Four soon, as well as these guys coming back for whatever adventure. Whether they're going to be Thunderbolts or New Avengers, it's up to see. But overall, great flick. If you haven't seen it, please do. I just gave you like a play-by-play for it. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe and like and comment for the channel. And I'll be doing some more. I'll be doing a Sinners review very soon. But yes, this for now. And thank you for watching.